Small cinema cameras are awesome, but there's not a lot of ways you can mount different things to these small bodies. I mean, there's only one 1/4-20 screw in the bottom, and that's just to hold it onto a tripod plate. So if you're gonna add any accessories like I will be doing to my Canon R5C, we gotta talk about cages and handles. In this video, I'm gonna be showing you the best cage that you can get if you follow the principles that I personally believe in. Let's get started. My name's Matthew McLaughlin, and I do gear reviews specifically on stuff that allows you to have a good one. So today we're talking about camera cages for small cinema cameras. First, I think it's a good idea to go over why you might want a cage in the first place. As we mentioned in the intro, these cameras are awesome, but there's not many places to mount any accessories. Because these cameras are nice and small, that also means they're a little bit harder to hold on to, and you can get a little bit of shake in your footage because your hands are so close to each other. So another reason to get a cage, so you can add handles out to the side to give you more stability for smoother shots, to add a top handle up above the camera so you can get low slung shots, or to be honest, just to carry the camera around. Once you start rigging, things get heavy. A top handle is a must to carry your heavy camera around. Again, because these cameras are so small, they come with a very small monitor. I mean, for comparison's sake, this is just an iPhone, and you can see how much smaller that screen is. So most people are gonna wanna add not only maybe a side handle, a top handle, but also maybe a monitor. It can either go right there or up higher depending on your preference. But you can't add any of those without a cage. So that brings us into the philosophy behind the cage that I specifically chose. Now, being that I started out as a photographer, I understand that light fades very fast, that there might be a particular shot that you might need to get, and quickness is extremely important. So you want to eliminate as many screws as humanly possible when it comes to building out your rig. If there's a shot coming up and you need that side handle, or you need the top handle, or the monitor needs to switch to a different place, you want it to be quick, you want it to be fast, and you want there to be zero wobble. This cage right here solves all those problems and allows me to have a very quick system to add and take off accessories. This, of course, is the Falcam F22 Cage, designed specifically for the R5, R6, and R5C. Now let's get rid of these handles, and let's talk just about the cage before we get into those. The F22 quick release system is a system that was designed and developed by a company called Falcam. Now, you may have heard them. They're a sister company to Ulanzi, known for making very affordable camera equipment that pretty much everybody has at least one piece in their kits. And this thing is built very solidly. I want to get that right out of the way. This is a very solid cage. There's no flex. If you're twisting it, you can't really squeeze it in any way. Everything is built quite nicely. You can just see how high quality this particular machining job is. So besides the fact that it has 1/4-20 with airy locking pins, 1/4-20 with airy locking pins, as well as 1/4-20s on either side. That's on the right-hand side of the camera. More 1/4-20s all the way down with airy locking pins in the middle. And on the bottom, it also has 3 1/4-20s right there. Oh, it also has a hot shoe mount, or sorry, a cold shoe mount. I forgot to mention that. But what makes this cage unique is going to be its quick release system. It's called the F22 system, and it was developed by Falcam, the manufacturers of this cage. And what that system is basically the same size as a NATO rail with the matching quick release on this side, and it allows you to just slide and snap accessories on, and then it's perfectly in place with no wiggle. This is a game changer, no doubt about it. The ability to quickly just pinch and release something with zero screwing, with zero wiggle once it's on there, don't underestimate the no wiggle, is absolutely a game changer. It allows you to go from having this cage on your camera to then putting that handle on, taking the top handle, sliding that to the middle, and then you have a rig where you can have your stability that we talked about, you can carry it all day, and to pack it up, it is extremely fast. and you're back to your standard size. Attaching this cage to your camera is extremely simple. Before we get it on there, I do want to show you this. A lot of people miss this in their reviews. See that little nub right there, right next to the sticker, and this hole? That's what attaches to your camera, and this provides the anti-twist. Canon cameras have little holes right here and right here that allow things to interface so that there is anti-twist, and this cage has it right there. So all you have to do to install is just simply push it in from the back. The camera won't be able to fall out the front because of this little ridge right here that prevents it from falling out, and that also helps with anti-twist. Then you just take the provided bolt, drop it into the 1/4 slot, grab your little flathead tool that comes with it, and tighten it up. Now the Falcam cage is attached to your camera, and you can quickly add those accessories with no hassle. This brings us to the next really good part about this cage. My worry was that this F38 was going to be jamming into the palm of my hand all day and that it was going to be extremely uncomfortable. I'm very happy to report that after using it for a while, it's really comfortable. It's actually surprisingly comfortable. This bar right here is very slim against the camera, so that doesn't dig in. And as it turns out, this is just a complete non-issue. My palm rests kind of lower on the camera cage, so I don't even feel this, and I forget that that ridge is out there. Plus, that is really handy because this is Arca compatible, so you can go vertical on either side without an L bracket, without one of those twisty things, just with the standard camera cage, so it keeps things light. It's super comfortable. It's very, very good in the hand. Everything feels extremely solid. As you can see, it fits really tight to the camera, so you're not adding any bulk. I mean, you can tell just how tight the tolerances are here, as well as along the bottom. One of the reasons that it has so much structure in this direction is because they added this bar right here, so there's no way it can get pulled up or squish in the middle because that bar is right there. So it's a very strong cage, it's very sturdy, and it does give me a lot of confidence. Plus the added benefit of it just being super comfortable to hold all day is absolutely amazing. If that wasn't comfortable, I was going to return it, but I'm very happy to report that that is very comfortable, so you won't have a problem with it. Now, the next thing you're probably wondering is whether or not this blocks any ports or access to anything, and I'm very happy to report that no, it does not. Number one, you have your SD and CF Express Type B card. Those slots are fully accessible. It opens up just as far as without the cage. All of your top buttons, there is absolutely nothing in the way, and you can see your screen really well, which I know a lot of cages tend to block it. Or my personal pet peeve is the cages that go up and over the top. That just is wrong. So the fact that it's all open is a huge plus. Of course, nothing to report on the back. That's all nice and open. I mentioned this bar on the front, and that goes really close to the number 12 button, but it does not interfere. As you get over to the left-hand side of the camera, your time code, obviously, nothing's even close to it. Your flaps here, they're open, but you can see that when I open this, it does cover the very top of the flap slightly. It's still super easy to open them, but it is tight just up at the top. It's a little bit more pronounced when you open up the microphone. Like, it's hard to pivot it because it kind of gets locked in there. But you can absolutely still access all of your ports on this side, but it is a little tight just because of this piece that sticks out. I have run this camera with audio, with an HDMI, and with USB-C power all together at once, and it wasn't a problem. Yeah, it was a tight squeeze, but it wasn't like I was forcing anything or there was extra tension on a specific port. It all worked. It's just a little squeeze. Oh, one more thing. Of course, the battery tray. Now, this has a lot of protection. What they did, and you can see it from this angle, was they made sure that this right here was at the same height as the F38 that doubles as an F22 in the middle. That way, if you put it onto a table, this sits flat with no rocker. So that's a good feature, but It does mean that your battery door is, you can still get to it, but if you have short fingernails, it's a little hard to open the door just because this wall is so tall. But my understanding, that's pretty normal for cages, so it's just something to get used to. You can still get it open, and of course, the battery door opens up plenty far, and it's really easy to get your battery out once the door is open. It's just simply getting that little guy to actually open up. So now you know why I picked this cage in particular. It has all the mounting holes that I'll need. I think it looks quite nice. It's very sturdy. Let's talk more about the F22 and F38 system. A while ago, I discovered Falcam, and I discovered it through their F38 system. What the F38 system is an Arca Swiss compatible plate that slips into and snaps and locks your camera in to a base plate. Now, back when I was a photographer, this was super handy because it was the press of one button, just right there, and then you can slide your camera off and go take stills. Then you come back to your tripod if you want to get a long exposure and snap it in, and you don't have to worry about it falling out. It's extremely secure. I've had it on car mounts for other videos. This is a very trusted system that I personally believe in. Plus, anybody who's wondering, the rattling you're hearing is just simply the quarter 20. It's just not held to anything. So I was really happy to see that Falcam included that F38 system on the bottom of their cages. It's just built in, so it doesn't add any height besides the thickness of the plate itself, and it just simply slips on to any F38 system with no wiggle, no nothing. You have that trusted system built right into your cage, one button press, and you're out. Seriously, if you guys have not used a system like this, you have to do it. It is a huge time saver. It's extremely secure. I mean, you can just do it all day. You can fidget with these things if you wanted to. But don't underestimate how nice it is to have a system where you have no screwing, where you have nothing except for one click, and you are onto the camera base. That is so handy, especially if you have to switch between a tripod, then to a gimbal, then to maybe a car rig, back to handheld. Just get this system. Now, I mentioned the F38's little brother, the F22 system, and it is a lot smaller. It's the exact same principle though. You just shove it in there and it's held on extremely securely. So one button press and it comes right out. Then this is all that's left on any of your accessories. So if you have a monitor, this is all the thickness that you're adding. That's it. And it allows you to snap on anything that you want with airy locating pins. Those are removable too. So if you have an accessory that doesn't have airy locating pins, you just unscrew those. You can just use the little tool that they provide. It's a very small star nut, and you can unscrew those and you have a flat mounting place with that quarter 20. They also make those base plates with a 3/8 mount, so you have that option, and they also have tons of different accessories. This one that I just showed you is the monitor mounts that I'm going to be using. This is a really nice monitor mount because it has F22 on the bottom and F22 on the top, allowing me to snap this into the system and then the monitor on there before you'd even be able to tighten one screw. I'll go more in depth on the monitor mount probably next video when I talk about the monitor that I'm going to be using, so subscribe if you want to see my monitor. But don't think that the F22 system is just for small things like a monitor or, lighter weight things like a GoPro. This system is a beast. I mean, you can see in here that it is a full dovetail system. So anything that goes in there, you can't really pull out this way. And the system that holds it from sliding in and out is basically the same thing as putting a pin in a hole. It's super, super secure, and I trust it like crazy. I've had it in tons of different situations. With the full rig, this thing being all built up, I walked across a train bridge with roaring water underneath, and realized that I trusted this thing like crazy. It was holding my entire rig on the top handle. You can take the F22, slap it on there, and unlike NATO rails, you have no wiggle right after you're done. A NATO rail, yeah, you can click it on and then twist something and then it clamps. But if you didn't have it on straight, then it's going to be wiggling around and that's just frustrating, especially if you're covering an event. My wedding videographers out there, anybody who does sporting events, this system is just the best because of how it doesn't wiggle immediately after you put it onto the cage. I also like the fact that the top rail here has 3 different positions. You can go all the way to the left if you had something heavy on this side. If you have nothing, then of course you just go to the middle. You do have one more position, and then you can have it there as well. So there is slight adjustability to move the top handle so your camera stays perfectly balanced. Now, if you aren't already convinced, let's talk about the materials and the handles that Falcam uses. Everything that I've showed you is made out of high quality aluminum, and it is just as strong as any cage out there. The handles are made out of it at the base. The F22 system that extends is made out of that same anodized aluminum. It's all very lightweight, very strong, just like any other system. Now, to start off with, let me explain what this material is. A lot of people, when they're reviewing these, don't understand what this is, but I happen to be a little bit of a knife nerd, so I get what this is. This wood grain pattern that you see right here is from this material itself. It's not a coating, it's not anything like that. This is called micarta. And what micarta is layers of canvas or some other material that then has epoxy resin that goes in between. And once it's hardened, you get this wood-looking structure with the benefit that it will not rot, it is extremely comfortable, and it's also sweat resistant. So when you have sweaty hands, you still maintain a nice firm grip. I can attest to that as well because I'm a bigger dude, have sweaty hands, and this thing is held up very, very nicely. Mentioned that I'm a knife nerd. This is one of my knives. It's the Cold Steel 8015, and I swapped out the handles for micarta as well. You can see this green stuff right here is canvas micarta. If you look into it, you'll start to see just how beneficial micarta is because it is a lightweight, comfortable, long-lasting material that doesn't rot and is basically impervious to weather. Besides all those benefits, there is one jarring one that goes for my particular location. I live in Colorado, it's currently winter, and I happen to shoot in the cold. I also know that wearing gloves has been very difficult to manipulate the little buttons and the touchscreen of my camera. These handles, because they're made of micarta, because both of them are made out of micarta, they don't get cold. I mean, of course, sure, you touch it for a second, yeah, it's cold, but when you grab it, it's not transferring the cold to your hand. You are warming this up because it does not transfer heat and cold fast. Unlike aluminum handles, which will freeze your hands. You take your hand off of an aluminum handle for like 5 seconds when it's slightly cold out, you put it back on, your hand is freezing. That is not the case with these handles because of the material that they are made out of. Now, we've shot the Polar Express, we've shot local events like Noel Night and San Juan College's Luminarias, and for all of those, I was able to shoot bare hands with these micarta grips, and my hands did not end up going numb. Anybody who lives in a cold climate, this is the only solution for you. As far as I can tell, there is nobody else on the market who is taking advantage of this amazing material. Falcam's the only one. And yeah, wooden handles are great too. They actually accomplish the same thing, but the difference is that wooden handles, they are going to show age very quickly. They can rot if you don't take care of them. And in order to have them last a long time, you usually need to leave the lacquer that's on there. And typically that's not super comfortable. So to recap, why did I get this camera cage? Well, it is just as strong as every other camera cage that I can find on the market. It has the anti-twist features that I'm looking for, and it looks good. So it checks all the boxes for being a quality product. After that, you have speed. This is the fastest way to get handles and accessories on and off of your camera when you need to pack up. 2 is going to be the anti-wiggle immediately from when you put it on and when you take it off. There is no play in the handles or any of the F22 or F38 accessories. You will not have to worry about tightening screws. You will not have to worry about a handle falling off. By the nature of how this works, it is locked on there. And lastly, number 3 is of course going to be their unique handle materials. The micarta handles are strong. They've been known in the knife world for a very long time for their durability and for their comfort and their long lasting. And the fact that these are the only ones on the market that are micarta kind of blows my mind, but it just makes this system so much better, especially if you live in the cold. Seriously, if you've used an aluminum handle on anything in the cold, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Put that in the comments, you can attest to it. So is there anything wrong with this system? I would say there's really only 2 things, one of which is just basically the specific cage that I purchased. I purchased the version 1 of this particular cage. Version 1 only has F38, that's the big square all the way around here, and F22 down here. The version 2 of this cage also added, I think is on this side, their F50 platform, which is based off of Manfrotto 501 plates. I think it was 501, it might be 502. But that is one of the only things, is that if you are going to be getting this specifically for the R5, R6, R5C, I'd probably go with the version 2 because you get that additional little quick release system that doesn't interfere with the other ones. And then the only other gripe that I have is because I use a quite heavy lens. There is a lot of torque downward. So there's a lot of strain put on the cage in this direction. The anti-twist this way, perfect. I have 0 complaints. There's nothing wrong with it. But because there is nothing that really attaches it to the camera up on the top here, when you have the camera held like this, there is some play downward. There is a lens droop. Kind of hard to see. I'll exaggerate it for you so you can see it. But you see the difference of where the cage is to where the actual camera is? That was something that was very annoying. But luckily, there's a very simple fix. Get a little shim, something about this size. I just 3D printed this. It was an 1/8 inch shim, and I just cut out a little rectangle of it. Take this and put it in between the forehead of the camera. So you just insert your little flexible spacer there, tighten up the base, and now it is solid as a rock. This is one of the simplest ways I could figure out to do this. Of course, if somebody else has a better way to get rid of that rocking, let me know, but this was super simple. You also don't need a 3D printer. I'm sure you could find some piece of rubber to do this too. Maybe from like a bungee cord or something like that. As long as it's flexible, that's my only recommendation. But if you have a 3D printer, I believe it was an 1/8 inch thick that I put in there, and it's perfect. There is no lens droop. When you're carrying the camera like this, there is nothing wrong. You don't feel anything. It's ultra solid, and of course, super secure. So, one modification to fix the one problem this particular one has. Other than that, I really don't have any complaints. There was one other thing that you just want to know about, and that's that this cold shoe right here, because it is at a flat angle, if you put the DJI mic in here, it hits and it doesn't fit perfectly right in this little spot. So either you need a riser or maybe you can put it at a 45-degree angle, something like that. Mics fit perfectly, but the little DJI receiver does run in and doesn't fit. So, little note there, only actual problem, really simple fix, and you have yourself a tremendous cage with all of the flexibility, all of the speed, all of the strength, and all of the comfort that you could possibly want in a cage. And this is going to be the bones of our next series. So in the next video, I'm going to be showing you about the monitor that I have, maybe the batteries, maybe something else. We're going to be building this into a full cinema rig that works for me, that keeps it small, compact, as lightweight as possible, but allows us to use everything and use it in every scenario that we possibly can. So let me know what you think of the Falcam cage. Let me know if you use any quick release systems. Let me know what cage you use. And as always, thank you so much for watching. and have a good one.